Oh, hello, my Wildwood friends. We are back for Chapter 11, The Fall of Toad Hall. Now, remember, get ready. All right, are you ready? I said, are you ready? All right, for all of you in attendance, you must answer each and every question with complete sentences. Pay close attention because you will need to know what happens in the story in order to use those complete sentences to answer the questions. Let's get started with the fall of Toad Hall. The rat put out a paw, gripped Toad firmly by the scruff of the neck, and gave a great pull. "Oh, Ratty!" Toad cried when safe inside the rat's home. "I've been through such times since I saw you last, I tell you." "Toad," said the water rat, "you go upstairs at once and take off that dress. Clean yourself up, put on some of my clothes, and try and come down looking like a gentleman." Toad was about to be huffy with the rat. However, he caught sight of himself in the mirror over the hat stand. Seeing how badly he looked, he changed his mind and went quickly upstairs. By the time he came down, Rat was at the table. While they ate, Toad told Rat all his adventures. But the more Toad talked, the more grave and silent the rat became. When at last Toad had talked himself to a standstill, there was silence for a while. Then the rat said, "Now, Toady, don't you see what a fool you've been? Motor cars are just trouble for you." "But I've had such fun, awful fun. But I'm going to be a good Toad now. I've had enough of adventures, so I'll be off now for Toad Hall." "Did you mean to say you haven't heard?" "Heard what?" said Toad, turning rather pale. "About the Stoats and Weasels? How they've taken Toad Hall," cried the rat. From the look on his face, Rat could tell that Toad had not heard. "After you went to prison," Rat went on, "Mole and Badger told everyone you'd be back somehow, some way. They stuck it out for you. They moved their things into Toad Hall and slept there and watched over the place to have it all ready for you when you turned up. Well, one night Mole and Badger were sitting by the fire when a band of weasels, ferrets and stoats, armed with teeth, rushed in upon them from every side. Those evil beasts bruised Badger and Mole with sticks and turned them out into the cold and wet, and the Wild Wooders, who've been living in Toad Hall ever since, are telling everybody that they've come to stay for good." "Oh, have they?" said Toad, seizing the stick. "You'll only get into trouble," warned the rat. But the Toad was off, and there was no holding him. When he got near his front gate, a long yellow ferret holding a gun popped up from behind the fence. Toad dropped flat on the road, and bang! A bullet whistled over Toad's head. The startled Toad scrambled to his feet and scampered off down the road as hard as he could. Still, Toad would not give in. He got out Ratty's boat and set off rowing up the river toward Toad Hall. All seemed very peaceful, deserted and quiet. He was just passing under a bridge when, crash! A great stone dropped from above by two stoats, smashed through the bottom of the boat. "What did I tell you?" said the rat when Toad returned. "And now you've gone and lost my boat and ruined that nice suit of clothes. I lynch you. Really, Toad, I wonder how you managed to keep any friends at all." The Toad saw at once how foolishly he had acted and gave full apology. "Then my advice to you is this," said the good-natured rat. "Mole and Badger." "Ah, of course, Mole and Badger," said Toad lightly. "What's become of them? I had forgotten about them." "While you were living so recklessly," answered the rat, "those devoted animals have been camping out in the open in every sort of weather, watching over your house. They've been planning how to get your property back for you. You don't deserve to have such true and loyal friends, Toad, really." "It's true," sobbed Toad, shedding bitter tears. "Let me go out and find them. Out into this cold, dark night and try. Hold on." is supper ready? Come, Ratty, let's eat before it gets cold. They had just finished their meal, and Toad had fallen asleep and was snoring by the fire when in walked Mr. Badger. Welcome home, Toad, he said. This is poor homecoming. Almost immediately in walked Mole. Here's old Toad, cried Mole. Why, you must have managed to escape, you clever, intelligent Toad. The rat pulled Mole by the elbow, but it was too late. Clever? Oh, no, said Toad. I'm a stupid mug, I am. I tell you a few of my little adventures, Mole, and you shall judge for yourself. Toad, do be quiet, said the rat, and don't you egg him on, Mole, when you know what he is. But please, tell us what is best to be done now that Toad is back. Things aren't good, replied the Mole. Guards posted everywhere, guns poked out at us, stones thrown at us, always an animal on the lookout, and when they see us, my, how they do laugh. Toad, Badger finally said, you bad, troublesome little animal. I would expect to see you more ashamed of yourself. What do you think your father, my old friend, would have said if he had been here these last months and had known of all your goings-on? Toad, who was on the sofa by this time, with his legs up, rolled over on his face, shaken by sobs of shame. Stop crying, went on the Badger more kindly. What the Mole says about Toad Hall is quite true. It's useless to think of attacking the place. Then it's all over, sobbed the Toad. I shall enlist in the army and never see my home again. I haven't offered my last word yet, said the Badger. I'll tell you a great secret. Toad sat up slowly and dried his eyes. There is an underground passage, said the Badger, that leads from the riverbank quite near here, right up in the middle of Toad Hall. Oh, nonsense, said Toad. I know every inch of Toad Hall, inside and out, I do assure you. Your father was a particular friend of mine, said the Badger sternly. He told me a great deal he wouldn't have dreamed of telling you. He showed it to me. He said it was already there when he purchased the house. Then if it's there, Toad said, a passage I've never seen. How's this passage of yours going to help us? There's going to be a big banquet tomorrow night for the Chief Weasel's birthday, continued the Badger. All the weasels will be gathered together in the dining hall, eating and drinking and laughing, suspecting nothing. No guns, no swords, no sticks, no weapons of any sort whatsoever. But the lookouts will be posted as usual, remarked the Rat. Exactly, said the Badger. That is my point. The weasels will completely trust their lookouts, the stoats, and that is where the passage comes in. The very next useful tunnel leads right up under the pantry, which is next to the dining hall. Shall we creep out quietly into the pantry? Cried Mole. With pistols and swords and sticks, shouted the Rat. And rush in upon them, said the Badger. And whack 'em, and whack 'em, cried the Toad joyfully, running around the room. Very well, then, said the Badger. Our plan is settled. It's getting late. Off to bed now. We'll discuss the matters in the morning. When Toad came down for breakfast the next morning, he found that Mole had already slipped off. Badger sat in the armchair reading the paper. Rat was running around, busily sorting out weapons and 4 little heaps on the floor. The door opened, and the Mole came tumbling into the room. I've been having such fun, he said with glee. I've been messing with the stoats. I hope that you've been very careful, Mole, said the Rat anxiously. I should hope so, too, said the Mole confidently. I got the idea when I went into the kitchen to make sure Toad's breakfast was being kept hot for him. I found that the old washerwoman outfit, the dress, the bonnet, the shawl, that he came home in yesterday, so I put them on and off I went to Toad Hall. The Stoats were on the lookout. "Good morning, gentlemen," says I, very respectful. "Want any washing done today?" They looked at me very proud and stiff and haughty. The sergeant in charge, he said to me, "Now run away, my good woman, run away," says I. "It won't be me that'll be running away." "Oh, Molly, how could you?" moaned the rat. The badger laid down his paper. The mole went on. The sergeant said to them, "Never mind her, she doesn't know what she's talking about." "Oh, don't I?" said I. "My daughter washes for Mr. Badger, and I know for a fact that 100 bloodthirsty badgers armed with rifles are going to attack Toad Hall this very night. 6 boatloads of rats with pistols and swords will come up the river and land in the garden. Meanwhile, a select group of toads, known as the Death or Glory Toads, will storm the orchard and carry everything before them where I live. I'd leave now." They were all as nervous and flustered as could be. "You've spoiled everything," cried Toad. "Mole," said the badger quietly, "you did very well. Good mole. Clever mole." The toad was simply wild with jealousy, more so because he had no idea what the mole had done that was particularly clever. After lunch, Badger took a nap. Rat continued gathering weapons, and Mole put his arm through Toad's, led him out into the open air, shoved him onto a wicker chair, and made him tell all his adventures from beginning to end, which Toad was only too willing to do. All right, that is chapter 11. Make sure to answer those questions, as we always say, with complete sentences, starting with a capital, ending with a period. For practice, and to help you do that, try restating the question in your answer. Best of luck. We'll see you tomorrow.